Hi there, this is Eddie, your Fliegerflogel here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the new EP that's just been released by Charli XCX called Vroom Vroom. Before I really start this review, I'm just going to quickly have to put a disclaimer, which is I've never really tried Charli XCX when it comes to her previous solo material. Now this isn't to say that I've never tried a full stop, because she's obviously a very prominent artist when it comes to chart music and very popular here, at least over here in the UK, and so I've heard quite a few singles that she's released, and I enjoy them overall, but just never really tried her albums as such. And the reason why I ended up trying this EP was because of hearing that Sophie, who's a fantastic producer and has been making some very excellent energetic dance and pop music known as bubblegum bass over the past couple of years, produced this entire thing. Now it's sort of strange just going into an EP just because of hearing a producer, but believe me, this guy, Sophie, is just so unique and out there that I kind of knew just going into it that even if I didn't enjoy it, I was going to be in for quite a spectacle. And luckily it was a spectacle, but it was a great listen overall. I was just so surprised and really happy how Charli XCX complemented and just like sort of morphed her own sounds and styles with Sophie's kind of out there and eccentric bouncy music, and it's great overall. I'd say overall it's like Sophie is known for making like really colourful music, but if you haven't really tried bubblegum bass, it's very mad pop and dance music. I'd say it kind of gets influences from like happy hardcore and maybe kind of like pico pop, in the sense of how like quite cute it is. Some people might find it just goes on the verge of irritating, but overall I just love it, I have to admit. So I was just like kind of blown away, just like, this is fantastic. Whilst I realise it's kind of understand and kind of confusing to understand what I'm trying to say here, this EP is colourful, like what I was expecting, but I'd say that the palette sort of stays within the darker shades, because every track here, apart from the second track called Paradise, is kind of like the car on the album cover. It's slick and well polished, but it's kind of rugged and mean. And I can say examples here, range and emotion, and for example, like the first line literally here on the EP is Charli saying, "Let's ride," and the listener immediately kind of feels like they just strap themselves in the car and in the passenger seat, and you're with Charli and just like cruising down this highway, and you've got like Bond villains kind of chasing you behind. So it's kind of like got this vintage aesthetic to it, with like an EDM bass throughout. It kind of reminds me of like a PlayStation 1 racing game or action game that has like audio backdrops to like a map or something. It's kind of like kind of like that. But that's just an example of like the first track, and I'd say track 3 and 4 are also really dark, but more dusky and kind of sinister, which is something Sophie, the producer, has dabbled into, especially on his compilation album that he released last year, especially tracks like Love, definitely dark, but that's like sound-wise. Charli XCX herself sounds extremely confident throughout the whole thing, and kind of, like I say, I'm not sure personally if she sounds like this with her previous releases, but she's really boisterous, has this real essence of girl power, but in a sort of pouty and badassery, which I thought's really cool. It kind of reminds me of Azealia Banks, but in a more pop-orientated sound. She just sounds great on this whole thing. For example, the third track, Trophy, just sounded and acted really quite ferocious, and the fourth track, Secret, has this like really thunderous synths and makes it like really creepy, because there's these like lulling sort of percussion elements to it, like xylophones, that kind of sounds like something like a music box that you'd have in a horror film where you hear about this possessed devil baby or something, I'm not sure. So I was kind of taken back by how dark the whole thing was, but the second track, which I haven't mentioned yet, is the track which I was kind of expecting what the whole EP was going to sound like. Not to say that I'm disappointed about the whole thing. It's still great stuff, but the second track, Paradise, is kind of what I was expecting the whole EP to sound like. It's kind of like if you were in this tunnel, driving through a tunnel, it literally saying it is a light at the end of the tunnel if you're in this car, like I say, driving with Charlie, because it's such a happy, just like easy going song. I love this track. It's like one of the best things I've heard in recent times. It's such a good track. And this features an artist from PC Music called Hannah Diamond, who I'm a really big fan of. But definitely one of the more prominent artists who are off the PC Music label. Now she kind of has her own sort of select style, especially in her lyrics, which delve in a lot of kind of like innocent love and just youth in general. Nothing where it comes to love describing things like I don't know, something serious, but kind of like when you just fall in love with someone and you're kind of just like getting those mixed emotions and stuff like that, like being kind of shy and stuff. You kind of get this quite a lot with this track as well. Lyrics like you give me butterflies, I wish this feeling would never stop, and things like that. And you might find it sounds a bit corny, but I think it works so well, especially with the actual track itself, which just has this classic 2000s EDM synth that goes throughout it, and has this really like interesting chopped female vocals, and it's a banger, honestly. Yeah, it's fantastic. But that's just that one track, and the other three, like I say, are kind of menacing but in a really cool sense. And that's it overall, to be honest. Yeah, like I say, there's only 4 tracks. I think I've talked quite a lot there for just being 4 tracks long. Overall, I'm just kind of blown away by how great this thing is, and honestly, and this might sound a bit sad, but I'm hoping that this can help, not only Hannah Diamond and PC Music perhaps, but her and Sophie, and just like open up the gates for them to being more popular than they are now, which is what I'm really hoping, because so far the projects that they've both released are great. So I'm really hoping that this kind of opened the doors to new fans and things like that, thanks to Charli XCX, who, like I say, overall is great on this thing as well. So that's it overall. I don't know, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. The only problems I have with it perhaps is being too short, I guess. I'm not sure. So that's it overall. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day. See you.